You got it? Because I have it right here. Okay. Shirley, come on yet? All right, I'm going to start. Do I need to make you co-host, Mike? Okay. Okay. All right, so is that me just did that? Oh, here she is. Good morning, Shirley. How are you? Oh, she didn't join yet? Yeah, just let her in. No, it's on Zoom. You have to log in through the website, the D the DLT website. Okay, so is I didn't see if she's here. Did Shirley get in? Morning, Shirley. How are you? Good to see you. I think I said this at the last DLT meeting. Hold on, I just have to record. You got it? Okay.
I already started the recording.
You did? All right, thanks,
Yep,
Louis.
you're good.
I think I said this last year, but after I said Happy New Year to everyone, I was like, at when do you stop saying Happy New Year? I think it's the end of January, right? That's when we stop the Happy New Year. But Happy New Year, everyone. Good to see you. Welcome all to the 2023 year. Lots of exciting things happening in District 25, and I'm very excited to continue our work together as a DLT. I want to start with reading and approval of the minutes. So, Dr. Antonio, you have those too? Because if not, I can put them up. You sure I have them right here? And as always, you guys received a copy of the minutes over the weekend. And as we're going through them, I just want to review a couple of things. You've also received a copy of the 2022-2023 Community School District 25 version of the DCEP, which was submitted for review to Central on Thursday, as well as the Queens North High School DCEP. Thank you, Bill, for submitting that. And the Queens High School report is up there as well. Louis, I don't know if you saw, but over the weekend, Shirley sent Queens High School committee. If you can add that to our folder, just so everyone has it, but we'll also be able to go over it today. And welcome to our first meeting on Zoom. I see everyone was able to get on really quickly, so I guess this is the successful platform. Okay, so unless there is any, anybody have any feedback or recommendations to the minutes? And if not, are we in consensus to approve these minutes? Come on, Shirley, where are you? Be consensus for me.
Yes.
Oh, yes, I
Yes.
see it. Thanks, Shirley. Appreciate you. Okay, so I'll go through my agenda. First is I want to thank everyone who helped to organize the Chancellor's Town Hall at PSMS 499. It was a very successful event. We had a lot of really good questions. Joe DiBenedetto, you did a fabulous job in organizing and promoting it. District 25 looked amazing and very welcoming to not just the chancellor, but central staff. So I want to thank you for that. Francis, thank you for being there and being the parent voice as well. And Rachel 499 did a beautiful job in welcoming not just the chancellor's office, but just guests of the community in general. Your PTA did an amazing job with coffee and snacks and just really being a parent force out there and just welcoming the community. So I want to thank you for that too. I also want to thank Miss Mahajan and her staff. Really, really great job in just bringing the community together. The thing that I do want to surface, you know, Francis, Shirley, Rachel, and I do want to bring it up to the community as well. And Joe, you too, is that, and I know it was the first day back and it wasn't necessarily the best time to have it, but we really do want to continue my goal as your superintendent in just continuing to promote parent, not just parent engagement, but parent empowerment and welcoming parent presence. So I know we had more people virtually, but I would like to see some more parent engagement just in terms of connecting with the district, connecting with individual schools. So beginning February, I am going to be hosting district parent chats. Where I'm going to talk about things such as parent empowerment, right? Not just parents coming and listening, but parents really being part of the decision making. So Francis, if you will agree to that, it's something that I do want to ask the PTA presidents to start talking about, you know, who would be willing to sit on my parent chats. And then I would really like for that to evolve in September into a district-wide parent group that will work with me and Dr. D'Antona and really be part of decision making for the district. So it's something that I was thinking about and wanting to promote. And I've asked Marissa and Jenny Chang, who is our new district family advocate, to reach out to the parent coordinators to connect with PTAs to see if there are parent leaders who would be willing to work with me through my parent chats, as well as the parent leadership team in the district. And I know, Francis, you're automatically part of it, whether you like it or not. So I didn't know if you wanted to give any feedback, Shirley or Francis or Rachel, around that thought.
How many parents do you want from each school? Just one? Or
so I wasn't thinking about doing it because then I would have 35 parents, but I was thinking about doing parent chats over different topics with different parents between February and June, and then offering parent leaders who are willing across all of those different groups an opportunity to be part of a district team, which will be maybe around anywhere between 10 and 15 parents. Shirley, how are you?
Good. Happy New Year again. I love it. You know, this is why I love this borough. So all like all the districts have some version, including high schools, of a parent advisory council or a numerous way of where parents and stakeholders come together off the usual monthly meetings. and have conversations on different topics. So I think
Mhm.
it's a great idea,
Thank you.
and families will love it because it gives them another chance to feel appreciated and that their voice is valued.
Yep. Great. And Rachel?
I agree. I feel that after coming out of the town hall, some of the parents that didn't get their questions answered, it would give them the forum to, have their voices heard. And I think that it's something that they would appreciate. And as you mentioned, starting off small and then having a parent group starting next year, I think that's a great progression.
Yeah. And my beliefs and values is I don't want to do something that I won't commit to, where I say that parents are going to have a choice and a seat at the table in making decisions. That really will be something that we put in place. So and I also think it's very important that we get out there and thank you, Joe, for promoting that. We do have our CEC elections coming up. We do want our community members to know and parent leaders up on those seats, making sure that we have a full CEC is really important to me. I know it's something that's important to Joe, just around getting our membership, at where it needs to be. So, so true decisions can be made and we're not stuck with, trying to get quorum and consensus. So Joe, I didn't know if you wanted to add about that too, that we really want our parent leaders to start pushing CEC elections.
Yeah, and so I'm not able to run for election this term because my kids have graduated out. And a lot of the parent leaders that are currently on the CEC are also apparently not coming back. So we're going to have a lot of vacancies. And I think, we started the wheels in motion, and I would be ashamed to see it fall apart. So I think we really need to, go with our momentum, and I'm all for it.
Yeah.
With the parent chat. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, if we can, Francis, also just continue to promote the CEC elections. I think it's really important because there are a lot of people who are leaving. And we just want to make sure that, our parent voice is heard through that council. Yes, Rachel.
Can I,
Oh, Rachel first and then Shirley. Go ahead, Rachel.
Two questions. Number one is how many seats are there going to be available?
So they're all of them. So there's 11 altogether. 2 of them are borough president. So anybody who would be interested would have to, for those seats, would have to apply through an application to the borough president's office. But then there are 9 seats that even if people who are currently on the CEC will run again, everybody is up for re-election. So Lewis put the information in the chat. For that comes from Central about the 2023 elections. But I just really want us to promote that, to make sure that all of our parents that are interested are aware of it, and that the time is now because the forums are going to start soon. So yes, Shirley.
yeah, so besides the regs stating so, the partnership between president's councils, because president's councils is the one who does the candidate forums. They have all the schools as part of their membership within the district, so it's very important. So this is a push citywide, and CPAC is ensuring and making sure all president's council have that information with the toolkit and sharing the information on site. But when it comes to the education councils and filling vacancies, that should be in partnership with the president's council. So president's council really needs.
Shirley, you just froze. Okay, maybe.
We need to really push on.
Shirley, Shirley, you
okay.
froze for a minute. Yeah, for just a minute, but I hear what you're saying, that working with President's Council to make sure that we're pushing the election. So So yeah, we really want to promote this. This is parent voice in the district, and Joe, I know you can, if you can speak a little bit more to it, but like, there's a lot of information that goes through CEC and President's Council, and it's I think it's important for families to know, a lot of times when, Joe and I are speaking to parents, they say like, well, you guys don't really do much. They do a lot. I say all the time, one of the reasons why we're getting so many schools built is because of CEC. Joe is really, really, he's a strong voice in communicating the need to reduce the overcrowding in District 25 since he's been president. And working with SCA, there's been extensions and new buildings coming online. So it really is a voice in terms of budgeting and decisions that Central makes. So Joe, I didn't know if you wanted to add to that.
Yeah, a lot of parents think that, it's a volunteer position and nothing really gets done. But I have to tell you from experience, these past couple of years that I've been president, I've been really active. I'm constantly in touch with the superintendent, and you know that, Danielle. SCA really, I mean, they really value parent voice. And we think nothing on the council now of, contacting SCA if there's an issue with the capital improvement or we need more space. We have a great relationship with the community board, and we really are quite active, even though we do not have this term borough appointed representatives. I'm going to put my application for the next term, and we also have 1 or 2 vacancies. So a lot of parents don't really understand what CEC is about, and at least we have quorum and we try to get things done. But I think we need to. The town halls were wonderful events, and we do a lot, and parents don't really understand that. So I think President's Council maybe needs to help us in communicating that, or the district office. We really need the parents to understand the importance of the role of a CEC member.
And I know, correct me if I'm wrong, Joe, but you currently have 1 vacancy on the CEC. So if there's a parent out there that wants to try just to see what it's like for the next couple of months, to get that application out, I'm wondering if FACE can send that to you guys and they could see, are you guys filling that seat?
Yeah, I mean, so we just recently, less than a week ago, obtained the new vacancy. So I'll be in touch with FACE about filling in that position. Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I'm not going to count on the borough appointed representatives, but we still have 6 members, and we're still able to, conduct business. We do resolutions. This term, we haven't done many. But we definitely would like to have more parents on if we could.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Fill that seat if you let me know the process to try it out.
So when we have a vacancy, it's as long as we get an application in, the council will vote on admitting the new representative. Typically, it's done by the public. Every parent has, every child, the parent of a child has 1 voice, so 1 vote. But once the council's elected and we have a vacancy, council members will vote for that position. But we need parents to sign up for the job because we have no candidates as we speak.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Shirley, too, talking about consulting President's Council on as per vacancies. So, Joe, if you could connect with Francis just around how to, what the council's intentions are to fill that vacancy. Francis, I see you have your hand up.
Yeah, I was just wondering, because we have a President's Council meeting tonight, if Joe was available to maybe speak upon the CEC aspect of it.
What time is your meeting?
6:30 to 8:30, but you can tell me what time you're available. And
I'll
then,
try to make it. I mean, like I have something with business I have to attend. I might be back probably by 6:30. So
Okay.
can I text you, Francis?
yeah, and then as soon as you get in, we'll have you speak.
Perfect. Okay. I'll
Thank
make
you.
it a
Alright,
point
great.
to be there.
Great, great.
I ask one
Okay.
more
Yep.
So that I can have the most information when I promote it at our next PTA meeting. Besides the monthly meetings, what other commitments would be involved? Because I know that's a question parents usually ask when, talking about a position on the PTA or on the SLT. They kind of want to know a little bit more about the commitment involved.
We're referring to CEC, right?
On CEC.
Yes, so we meet once a month. Typically, it's the first Wednesday of every month at the district office, although we're still meeting in a hybrid mode. Typically, it starts at 7 p.m. We do have one or two special meetings which are noticed to the community. So we do have a special meeting tomorrow night regarding capital improvements, because we do provide a list of recommended selections that the CEC advises SDA regarding capital improvements. So we do meet for special meetings, maybe once or twice every other month. And then we have our town hall once a year, and we also do a bad for words right now, but at the end of the year, we usually have an award ceremony at our last meeting. And we also fill out our recommendations regarding the superintendent.
Okay. Rachel, I think I did something where I muted you. Can you unmute or no?
I could unmute.
Okay, no, I muted Rachel.
I didn't hear what Rachel had to say.
I just said thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay.
That's helpful.
Just getting to know Zoom. Sorry, Rachel.
No
Okay.
worries, I don't take it personally.
Okay, so the next phase is, so Gus is going to be spending some time really talking a little bit about the DCEP draft. Everyone has a copy of the DCEP, so there's something that I wanted to bring up to the DLT, is that everything that you will see in the community school DCEP are things that we have gone over. All of our goals are in there, all the action plans, all the decision making, our parent involvement plan, all of the things that we have been doing since September to now is incorporated in that plan for you guys to look at and give feedback. With consensus, we don't need to go over each and every area unless the DLT wants to. What I would like to do is, when we get feedback from Central, take the DCEP and go over that feedback and then make those changes together. But if there is any member of the DLT that wants to go through the entire DCEP for the community school one, we can do that. But if not, what I would like to do is go over the mid-year benchmarks that Dr. D'Antona is going to be putting together to prepare for February. So is there anyone that has any feedback around that? Because it's up to the DLT. No feedback. So is everyone okay and in consensus that we're going to not necessarily go over piece by piece from the DCEP, because really we've gone through that for the past few months, and Mike will do a presentation around what we're going to be looking at as we start with our benchmarking. Yes. Okay. So Mike, and Donovan's coming on at 9:30. Can you? Okay, so perfect. So that's great. So, all right. So if everyone is good, I'm gonna have Dr. D'Antona go through what we are going to be looking at over the next few weeks. And not only will we be doing this at DLT, but we're also going to be doing it at CEC and at President's Council, really to show where we are as a district in terms of student performance aligned to our goals. So Dr. D'Antona.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm sorry, I'm just getting a text. We have a guest that's going to come in and talk a little bit about a product. So he just sent me a text that he needs the link. So I'm just going to make sure that I get him that link really quickly, if you don't mind. And then I will share my screen and all
right, so in the interim, while you're sending it, I'll just—
Can you just give me 1 second? Yeah.
Yeah, I have one other announcement while Dr. Mike is preparing. So additionally, I know that many of you have received it, but we have, starting last month, implemented our District 25 newsletter. It's going to be going out every month. If there are any DLT members that would like for me to include any sort of district information that will go out to the entire community, please feel free to email it to me, and Marissa will make sure that it gets into the newsletter. So we're really excited about our district newsletter as well. We ready, Dr. D?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay.
Okay, share my screen. And I've added in a bunch of Bitmojis in here, so you can tell me which one of them that you like across each of the 5 priority areas. Always have a little fun with posting myself in a Bitmoji. I always enjoy them because I have a lot more hair in the Bitmoji than I do in real life. So anyhow, so what we're going to kind of talk about very briefly is just what I'm going to be sharing with you, hopefully for the for the February DLT meeting, connected to each of our priority areas. So for priority area 1, which is around making sure all of our students are able to read well, what we will be doing is breaking down the district-wide Acadians data. So our goal for priority 1 was really focused on building out outcomes for children in grades K through 2, so that we're moving along from that space where we were last year and improving upon those outcomes into this school year. So we will be looking at the Acadians data with the specific focus. Grades K to 2, we'll break it down by grade, subgroup level, and skill to measure progress across the midpoint of the school year. This is very much aligned with what we had suggested in our DCEP. The other elements that we will also talk about are kind of the professional learning opportunities that our district has been providing schools, as well as some of the professional learning that we've engaged in on a district-wide sense to promote this the foundational skills that our kids need. We have upwards of 400 of our teachers and administrators that are being trained through letters, which is around building language for our kids across schools. So we're really excited about that. We'll kind of give you an update as well as to where we are in that respect as a district. Mid-year data for priority 2. This one we focused on chronic absenteeism rates, which will be no doubt an ever continuing focus as a district. As many of you know, I don't have to tell you that between COVID effects, flu effects, RSV, there seem to be a number of things that have certainly impacted our attendance rates. But regardless of that, we are still going to continue to push as a district to continue to build on our work with our case teams. So not only will we be talking about the current checkpoints in this type of way, which I'll show you on the next slide. This we have just a comparison as of November, as of January. You will see that the attendance rates have not necessarily improved in relationship to the district at this point. We will continue to engage in that outreach at the district level with our schools, so that we can better influence outcomes in this area. We have a large chunk of children that are within that 88% range of being in school, and a lot of those we can liken to, just in terms of feedback we've been receiving from buildings, it is because of illness in large part. It is not, we're not in this space where children are taking a lot of randomized days, just based on those connections that our schools are making.
Yeah,
But
Dr. Daytona, I just want to
Yeah.
say one thing. So,
Yeah.
so what I really do think is important, we're going to continue to push chronic absenteeism, because the good thing about chronic absenteeism is these numbers can change. You can get out of it
Yeah.
if you choose, and if we support our students and families in coming back to school, and making sure that if you're chronically absent in November, but if you continue to come to school, you will come out of that chronic absenteeism. But I think it's important to look at certain things, and Dr. Dantona and I have shown you the correlation between student performance and progress and chronic absenteeism. And when we look at certain types of data and gaps in student learning, and we look at our Black and Hispanic students, I mean, I'm very concerned about that subgroup of learners. If we continue in the way that we're going, our Hispanic students will almost be 40% chronically absent.
Yeah.
So that is really something that we're going to push for our schools, through our case teams, through our parents, and just get it out there, the importance of being in school. Now, we do know that there are concerns with illness, and that has come up in my meetings with parents, because anytime I visit a school and I have an opportunity to meet with parents, we're talking about chronic absenteeism. And I say this all the time. If your child is out for illness, they can still come out of chronic absenteeism, but it's about making sure that the school is supporting your child around reentry into school. But it's also around, especially for our youngest learners, connecting with those parents, because it's those parents that make sure that those students get to school on time. So this is really something that we're going to continue to push for.
Yeah, and
Thanks,
just
Fatima.
to kind of also note, within these numbers are children that are at risk. This is not to say that all of these kids that are here have already surpassed the 10% or more for the year already. So there is still plenty of space in here, provided that, as we move forward, that our children have really good attendance between now and the end of the year. These numbers won't look like this. The percentages that you see here are as if our kids continue on the track that they're currently on, then there will be a likelihood that this chronic absenteeism information here will be exactly what it says. So as Danielle said, we have room and opportunity to make adjustments to this information as the year goes on. It's just that continued outreach and support that we definitely need to bolster and build upon as the year continues to move forward. Yeah, go ahead, Joe. I see your hand raised.
So, but it looks like the numbers are going up, right, from November to January. So the trend is upward, right? It's not, and we've been talking about this. So, do we know what the problem is? Is it from the could it be from like the infections, the RSV, or the?
Yeah. So a lot of the feedback, Joe, that we've been receiving from schools, because part of their roles and responsibilities at the building level is to engage in that outreach to families to see what's going on, how can we help, how can we support, and in large part, and as you heard Danielle say that, even when we touch base and have those parent chats at the building level, the feedback is, listen, our kids are sick. If they're sick, they are in fact staying home. December was a rough month for that in our buildings. Both adults and students alike. We had a certainly an uptick in the number of absences due to illness, which is why I think this is also elevated, because the illnesses are not, they're going to be out for a day. The illnesses tend to take kids out for a number of days at a time. So I do think that was quite an influencer on what we now see at, coming into the beginning of January, is a result of those concerns. So that's been in large part, the feedback that we've been receiving from schools as we look at these elevated rates is because of children either having the flu, coming down with COVID, or of course RSV has been kind of like the new one that's been added into this equation. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think, as Dr. D'Antona said, that is what our case teams are doing. And I think it's very important that that we know when we go into schools, and Dr. D'Antona and I are talking about chronic absenteeism, that schools are able to speak to the specific needs of students who are falling into this area. But the other piece that I think is really important, that, and as you guys know that I push on things that I live through, is that if you have a child who's been ill for a very long time, it is my expectation that the school is preparing for that child to come back. Because a lot of times when children are lost after being absent for 2 weeks of school or whatever it is, the transition back to school is a very difficult one. So it's about getting that outreach and connection to parents and giving them that voice to make sure that the school is working with their child to catch them up, and what that looks like. And that very short MTSS. Remember, MTSS is small cycles. So a 4-week cycle of getting a child ready to come back to school if they've been ill is something that is part of the expectations of the district. But I think, this is really where you have to see a partnership, right? Where a parent trusts the school to engage in conversation around chronic absenteeism. But what I do know is we have to continue to work on this together to make sure that our families know that school is a place where children need to be, and no child and no subgroup should have numbers as high as others, right?
Yeah.
So if you're looking at a normal chronic, absentee rate, you're looking at this, 11, 12%. We should not be seeing numbers like 35 and 38% in or even 25% in the district, or 29%. So I think that's we're just going to have to continue to push and talk about this. Yep. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. And listen, this is going to be a consistent conversation, especially because what the data and the research says. And I've always said, it to me, it just sounds logical. I mean, if your child's not in school, it's going to be difficult for them to keep up with the work. So it's going to be something that we do need to make sure that those supports are in place for any child or family that is having some struggles right now. So it'll be a continuing conversation for sure. Priority area 3 is for us is focused on building out, continuing with that focus on reading, and continuing to build on our the progress of our kids. So what I will be making available to everyone is the iReady data. Both Acadience and iReady are underway. The window opened January 3rd. So our schools in large part have already started. If they didn't begin, many of them are beginning today to begin assessing our children for that mid-year assessment, which is why I'm hopeful that all of our schools will be done by the time the next DLT is here, so that I can give you the hot off the presses information from where our schools are at this point of the school year. So like Acadience, I will be breaking down the information for you guys for our students in grades 3 through 8 by grade, subgroup, and skill that they are being assessed on. It'll give us an opportunity to kind of really see where they are. And in large part, this goal was also connected to the work our schools are doing around MTSS. So one of the other categories that you will be able to see is the number of children that are currently receiving MTSS supports, and how that's influenced a change or not at this point of the school year, so that we can reassess what's currently going on, what programs that our schools are using. I will be able to show that as well, what programs our kids are in, how many of those kids have improved because of the programs that they're receiving that additional intervention support. So it gives us a little bit more clarity on not just that they're receiving MTSS, but they're receiving MTSS using a program like Rewards. Have our kids grown because of that? So I'll be able to give a little bit of a better breakdown for our DLT during the next go around. So I'm excited about that, and hopeful that we'll be able to see some progress as a district at this point of the year.
Michael, I have a question. This is
Yeah,
Francis.
sure, Francis. Hi.
The breakdown of the MTSS do they have a breakdown with IEPs and non-IEP students?
Yeah, sure. So any of the information that I'm going to be able to share, Francis, is going to be by subgroup. And subgroups include not only the ethnic subgroups, but it also includes our Ls as well as children with IEPs. Yes.
Thank
you. Okay. Priority 4. So this one we made a little bit of an adjustment on, and I believe we mentioned during the last session. This one is connected to our regents data. Right now, we have just under 1,500 students that are slated to take the regents in June, which is a significant percentage of our 8th grade student population. But one of the things that we've recognized is that the iReady assessment, while it does allow us to see children's performance from 8th grade and then beyond, so if they're exceeding the standard, we'll be able to see that. But we wanted to make sure that the assessment that the kids that they were taking was directly aligned with Algebra 1. So we're going to shift a little bit in January, and rather than the 8th graders taking the iReady assessment in math, the 8th graders that are slated to take the Regents will take the Algebra 1 MAP assessment, because it's more closely aligned to the Regents scores, the Regents assessments that the kids will be taking towards the end of the year. And it'll give us a clearer measure than what we're going to see from iReady. Now, iReady gives us data, but for Danielle and I, we were talking about it. We said, you know what, let's make sure that this is more closely aligned, as closely aligned as possible, to make sure that our children, our teachers make the better instructional decisions because of it.
Yeah,
Danielle,
so this is the assessment that the 9th graders take in high school to help measure that. And it's a good measurement for us because, as we had discussed in the beginning of the year, when Dr. D'Antona and I were working with you guys around the disproportionality goal of access to regents, we were able to offer students regents. But what was happening was the pass rate of those regents was not what we hoped for. So we've been working with our schools just around, if we're making this decision in working in conjunction with students and families to say, we want to give you an opportunity to take this accelerated course, here's the supports that we have in place to get you to be able to take that accelerated course. And now we have a tool that could help accurately measure where children are to begin the conversation around, let's push for this MTS program between January and the end of the year to make sure that you're ready to take the Regents, or let's engage in a conversation about maybe going back into 8th grade math if whatever the map is showing could be problematic. So we do believe that this will give us a more clear and accurate understanding of where our students are in algebra this year.
Yeah, and the one of the parts that I'm excited about too is we were able to reconnect with some math professional developers from Central to support this work and deliver. And side by side, we get this data back. Now let's look at it collectively as an 8th grade group of teachers and the math professional developer from the Algebra for All team to really start having some of those really critical conversations around, okay, what do we do now for any children that very well may be struggling a little bit in the Algebra 1 mathematics to make better decisions in the classroom. So that's where we are and what I'll be able to show in February, for this particular goal. What we're also excited about, and I don't think he's been able to join in yet, but something that Danielle and I were having conversations about, and what Gus has really pushed us on is, not only thinking about, the regents in terms of, college and career readiness, but also around the things that we can also promote in relationship to that readiness. So we have connected with a vendor who does support STEM-based initiatives. And, I think Danielle will probably open up more conversations once Donovan joins us. But they offer a series of STEM-based courses that our children can take. And examples of this, and let me just quickly unshare real quick so I can look at this list. Examples include things like computer science and information technology, engineering and robotic technology, workforce development, entrepreneurship, and business are some examples of what this particular organization offers. It also offers financial literacy courses, gaming and design, Adobe video production. And these would all be, and what we would be asking for from the DLT is feedback on the types of courses that we can offer our kids in this area, and it become like a district-based type of space where kids can have access to it in a pilot way, obviously in the beginning, and then hopefully expanding over time. But when he comes in, he'll be able to share some of those other opportunities that they make available.
And I know that in the beginning of the year, it's also something that we've spoken about in terms of really finding an entry point for STEM within our work. And we believe that this is a good starting place so that schools can work with students and families to see where the interest level is. So what Donovan offers is a wide range of opportunities where individual schools can maybe then hone in and say, like, we want to offer these specific courses, which can be supported through the administration and staffing. So I think he just came in. Yes.
Yeah, he actually just, perfect timing.
Yes. And we were offered, as we know, you get mid-year projections and mid-year funding. So in meeting with Donovan, this was something that we wanted to consider and wanted to present to the DLT. So welcome, Donovan.
Hi,
Donovan. How are you?
Hey, good morning. Welcome.
So Donovan, it was actually perfect timing that you were just able to join. We were just having a conversation with the DLT just around building some of these opportunities for college and career readiness. And we were talking about, just the connection that we just recently made with you to talk about some of the courses that 21st Century Ed has available for our kids. So it was a great lead in that you were just able to join. And if you wouldn't mind, could you talk a little bit with our parents, teachers, administrators, that are on the DLT to let them know a little bit about what it is that you currently offer, and then perhaps you can make available a little bit of time for some Q&A from any of our folks that are here.
Yes, no worries, no worries. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen. Do I have about like 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, awesome.
I think you got to make him a host, Mike, right?
No, he should be good. I just gave
him
it up. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Okay, so you should see my screen.
Yep, we got it.
Okay, awesome. So thank you so much for the introduction. My name is Donovan Lean. For anybody who does not know me, from 21st Century Education, and what we really do is provide high quality, comprehensive STEM, because we know right now that this workforce is changing. The same jobs that were available will not be available in the coming times. So if you see on the left-hand side, we have the garbage truck route, which a lot of these still in existence, but we have about 3, 4, 5 people in this route. Now we have autonomous trucks where the garbage truck has the hand and it's 2 people. And in a lot of states and not to New York City yet, because we're a little bit more complex, but they have fully autonomous refuse trucks. So that means the job count went from 5 to 2 to 0. And that's happening in a lot of industries. So I'm going to show this quick video and then I'm going to go into some things and then open up for Q&A. So as you're watching this video, the sound is not important, but I want you to just pick up on a couple of things, what you see, what you observe, and I'll ask a couple questions. So if you notice from this video, did anybody notice anything? Um, how many humans did you see in that video?
Almost none.
Yeah, so there was no humans in that video. So we went from, kind of non-skillful jobs to skillful union jobs to even robotic surgery that is being replaced by technology. And it sounds like a very scary thing. I mean, if you even think of iRobot and all these advancements, like, oh my gosh, the technology is changing, it's being replaced. That can be one outlook, but then there's another outlook, which is there's all these jobs are going to disappear because robotics, automation, artificial intelligence. But the real problem is on the other side of that, we're not filling enough jobs in computer science into how these things are changing. As of right now, we have currently 695,000 computer science jobs open. And as thing they say by 2028, we'll have 2.72 million in data science and analytics, 2.4 million in advanced manufacturing, and 3.4 million in global cybersecurity. So as we can see, is just even if we look at New York State, we have 35,000 open computing jobs. 35,000 open computing jobs with an average starting salary of about $105,000, but we're only producing about roughly say 7,000 computer science graduates. And that's, a lot of that has come to do with the exposure, not knowing if, I can do this, or if this is something that is, it's something that's capable of me. So it's more than just a STEM, because I know a lot of times we think about STEM, we think about that thing over there. It's great. We have our coding club and our robotics club, but STEM is not set apart from the world. Rather, it influences every aspect of our work and community life. So I'm going to just breeze through real quickly. So, the solution is a comprehensive STEM education for all students, not just the bright ones, not just the ones who are great at math already, because across the country, our children are being taught 20th century skills using 19th century pedagogy for an accelerating 21st century global economy. And because education has changed. Education was organized for work. Work has changed. Education has not. So when we first thought about the K-12, it was about creating great factory workers, the Bell line. But if you look at that, the factories, they don't exist either because they're outsourced for labor, cheaper labor in other countries, or there's nobody working in there because it's all automated. So how do we get our children ready? So I'm just going to skip through some of this. So we're focusing on is the access for all students, which we have in our program. We're at about 54, I think about 60 courses of full STEM courses ranging from 3D printing to artificial intelligence, financial literacy, coding, robotics, drone photography, drone videography, video content creation, sound, audio mixing, a bunch of courses. The culture was the professional development for our teachers to build capacity in those areas. So that's, excuse me so much. But build capacity in those areas so that way, they can feel confident to lead this. Because we know if we prepare them well, they should have 4 primary options after graduation, which is either they enter the workforce, college, entrepreneurship, or service, or a combination of these. So these are the skills, because the reason why I say it goes beyond STEM, because beyond going into a STEM field, these are 21st century skills that we want our students to have, which is the 4 C's: critical thinking, collaboration, communication, creativity, and problem solving. We want to make sure they're also fluent in these STEM literacy skills. So financial literacy, business literacy, entrepreneurship literacy, information literacy, global competency, and different self-agency and SEL skills such as adaptability. How do you adapt? How do you self-manage? How are you socially aware? Your relationship skills and responsible decision making. So just to give a really quick overview. So I'm going to show 2 videos. They're like 20 seconds, and I'm going to show the courses.
To get into STEM, it doesn't matter what's your race, your gender, if you're poor, you're rich, you just have to be open-minded I didn't even know I was interested in this. So I never knew I was capable of doing stuff like that.
The most powerful part of that for me was I didn't know I was interested in this, so I didn't know I was capable. And a lot of times that's our students. You know, they're expecting these resources to come from the school system, and if we don't give them an opportunity, they will never know if they're interested in this. And I like to show this video to show, well, what can the teacher do? Because a lot of times we think of programs where you just sit your kids in front of it and that's that. But this is not one of those programs.
There was a time when I was like, I don't know about this technology, but my students are the ones who fueled my excitement about it. And for me to be able to learn from my students, that gives them a lot of confidence.
So these are, I'm going to stop right here, but I just breezed through just because of the sake of time. But these are examples of some of our STEM courses. So 3D design and animation, a lot of times we have 3D printers, and I have a lot of 3D printers that are collecting dust. So we have a course that can help. So there's actually some intentionality behind it of how to use a 3D printer, what the kids are designing. And even if we don't have a 3D printer, how can we use the same program to do animation, live animation, drone photography, financial literacy? I think that was my cue. That is time is up, but because I heard the bell, but game design development, drone photography. So I'm going to open it up to any questions. I know that was a very, very brief overview, but I'll open up to any questions from anybody. So
Yeah.
Dr. Mike, was I right on the bell?
Yeah. So Donovan, you can unshare. You know what? That's funny. It was actually not. It
was somebody coming into the meeting.
Someone just joined the meeting, but you can take it as the cue. That was perfect amount of time that you just shared.
Okay.
But yeah, we thought it was really important. Thank you so much, Donovan, for the DLT to kind of see where we're thinking. As you know, it's really important to me, and it's something that we've been talking about in the educational world for a really long time, that the jobs of tomorrow do not necessarily reflect what's happening in school now. So in District 25, we want to start bridging that. So we're really interested in 21st century ed and the wide range of coursework that's offered. And one of the things that we know is, in talking with Donovan, it does come with training for teachers. It really is student-centered learning. And it is a starting place for us as a district. So you will see, we want to start now and implement this as part of the work that we're doing in the college and career readiness goal. But we did want to hear feedback from the DLT first. And so we don't know if you have any specific questions for Donovan, how you feel about the direction that I'm going in just with the introduction of STEM to our schools. So I just wanted to put it out there for questions if anyone had any.
And also, I believe I have my colleague from our implementation team, Danny Bates, is on as well. So to answer any technical questions as well. So
thank you for being here, Danny.
Sorry for joining late.
Okay, I see all the questions. All the parents, yes. So Shirley, let's go. How are you?
Good. I thought I talked fast, but you really talk really fast. Is it possible that can you share the slide presentation?
I can share the slides with the DLT, so that way you guys can go through, and I also sell some links so that way you can see what courses, what they look like, and any different examples.
Thanks, Donovan.
And I have one more question. And so in light of this, of the information shared, what is District 25 plan? I think this is a very good way to foster partnership between the middle school and high school, a tool, one of the tools to foster that relationship, to make sure that, when you're going from the lower grades to the high school grades, that the STEM skills are there and they're ready to graduate. So do you already have plans in set or ideas on how to incorporate and ensure that these necessary skills are going to go to our students?
Yeah, and thank you for that question, Shirley. Yeah, so Superintendent too, and myself are really engaged in those conversations. We started really in the math world, which is where we made those connections to really having our students in terms of assessment for algebra, like be on par with what how the high schools are looking at student skills. I think the introduction to STEM is something that we're going to grow in together as a district, inclusive of the high schools. We're just starting really our STEM work. I won't even say expanding our STEM work. I think our STEM work has been very surface level. So in looking to deepen it, I think the conversations, and this is why we are also including the DLT, the conversations are really going to build from the foundations of what are our expectations of STEM for our kids. And that's why we brought this here, because it is inclusive of high schools together.
Yeah, and I think that was just to quickly add on. That was one of the reasons why Superintendent Domingo suggested that we invite Donovan here today, is to kind of get the perspective, because there are high school folks that are on here, including yourself, Shirley, to kind of start building out, what this could look like, in our district schools, even in the context of beginning now in a small pilot way to build over time.
And I think it's also important, like, once again, I'm mentioning my kids again, but like this whole idea of cybersecurity and the work that's happening out there. Colleges are offering kids so much money. My daughter just got offered $35,000 to go to a school that deals with that. So I think it's something that parents should know too, that if you're looking at STEM and careers of the future, and your students are part of something that they can put on their college applications, and we start those foundations in elementary and middle school, it just helps support them in terms of college and career readiness. And I'm not even saying just college that's offering a lot of money. But it just actually will help people in their careers. You're looking at that. I say, like, my husband was a carpenter. I look at all the people that lay bricks, like that's going to change. Even the whole world of, blue collar workers, like they need to know STEM in order to be able to do that work too, because everything is changing. So we want to be able to make sure that we're engaging in those conversations. And I think, we've spent a lot of time talking about literacy and math, and it was a need in our district, but I also want to really start focusing very hard on this STEM work. So, okay. So, Joe.
So it's like mind-boggling, because I really never thought of it that way. I mean, this presentation, as fast as it was very effective, because we're there, we're past there. Like, this is something that we really need to get out. I mean, I never really thought of it that way. So maybe we need to start presenting this to the parents, right? So they can start talking to the children about it. I have my own daughter who's ready, my oldest one's ready to graduate high school and has no clue what she wants to do, or, because maybe we as parents don't realize how far advanced we are and, what's going to happen in the immediate future. So I think this was very effective, but we really need to bring the word out and, start putting that into everyone's head. So I think that's a great idea.
Yep. And Francis?
I don't think I'll ever be okay with seeing a truck driving with no one in it, but I would say.
I agree, Francis. I agree.
I would say this, that one thing with technology, it does make our life easier, but then there's a human connection that we lose, and I think that that's very important. A lot of these children have lost that human connection. You don't see so many kids playing in the streets anymore with each other. They're all home texting each other. So I just think that there's something that we have to keep that balance. And I think it's important to know that humans cannot be replaced by machines. I mean, machines help us, but humans are the ones who program these machines. And without them, what happens when the machine goes down? It can't really fix itself. So I just think that a lot of the parents are very much into coding, and they're going to coding. And that's kind of like what you were saying, Danielle, they're into creating. And the world is changing, because now they have grants for video gamers. They have grants for I think it's called grants or something. So that's great. And they do need to know it, but we still can't forget how to be human, is what I just want to make sure we don't forget.
Yep. And you're right. And I think that's important because I think when you push in one direction, you do need that human side of it too. So thank you for that. So if everyone is kind of on board with what we're thinking, then Dr. Mike is going to continue to work with Donovan. We're really going to put this program together to see if we can start it for the second half of the year and move forward. Our principals have already met with Donovan. Donovan's already shown the program to him. So we're going to do district pilot, but if individual schools want to work separately with Donovan, then that's something that we're going to put out there as well. So Donovan, thank you so much for being here. Danny, thank you for coming here today. And I know Dr. Mike will reach out and be in touch with you. So thank you. We appreciate you.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks for being here, guys.
Thank you. Love the comments. You guys are right on board. Love it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So good. We're glad. I'm, like I said, this is sort of, when Dr. Mike and I get together, we do like our think tank of planning, and then we do outreach to organizations that may have things available. One of the things that we really loved about this is the wide span of STEM that they have out there. Like, who the heck even thought of drone photography, which is part of cybersecurity, which is part of, So we think that this is a good space, not just expose kids to a wide range of college and career ready, futuristic jobs out there, but also that it does come with supports for teachers and administrators. And I think that's important too. Mike, did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, no, I mean, they have, I'm just going to put into the chat just so that you guys can look at just the catalog of courses that they do offer, just for yourselves if you find yourself interested in seeing what else that they have available. One of the other things that we have in mind and plan to do is connect with the youth leadership team in the district to also get the student perspective, from the courses that are accessible, to us, and then, making good choices around, how we can begin, offering these opportunities to our kids, in a small way to make it hopefully a big way over time.
Yep. Mike, Joe, I see you have your hand up.
Yeah, so Francis makes a great point, because I'm a humanitarian type of person. I like dealing with people all the time and doing things in person. So maybe we really should balance that with like the humanitarian aspect also, so we don't lose that part of what Francis was talking about. So if we combine both, it might be a good way of going about it.
Yeah, you know what, Joe, I agree with the space of making sure that we don't lose out on the relationships that are necessary for us, to be human, right? And I just think that, the 21st century idea, while it is very tech based, it also includes that notion of we can't do this in isolation. So the whole component of problem solving is not a problem solving as an individual. It's often problem solving as a team to come to figure out why this particular piece of machinery is not working. So I do see where that idea of all of the robotics and all of the things there definitely lend itself to the idea that, oh my God, we're going to be doing away with all the things that we have to do as individuals. But it opens up space for communicating around how do we organize around that too. So,
and I definitely think we need to be careful about keying in on those social elements. I just think of this whole concept of gamers, that they think they're being social because they're speaking to each other online, but they're not seeing each other, right? Yeah. And there's something to be said about working together. So we hear that piece, and as we roll this out, even though the program may not offer that aspect of it, we'll make sure that we're pushing for that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So anyway, I mean, they do have some really interesting courses that are available to kids. Basically, what would need to happen is that teachers would have to be trained and serve as a trainer. And then much of the coursework is accessible to kids in an online way. It could be in an in-person way. That would have to be decided, over time. Obviously, the more kids in person would mean more, the volume of money would certainly increase, exponentially, given that. Certainly at the district level, would be higher than probably we would be able to afford doing it in person. But we can certainly pilot it in a small way to get perspectives from the teachers and the kids, for that matter, and our parents to see whether or not it was an effective choice. But it's an exciting set of ideas at the very least. And the last goal is around parent involvement. So one of the things, and I have to thank Francis and President's Council members for engaging with us during the last President's Council meeting to really talk about, getting some feedback from our community, in general around parent involvement. So what wound up coming from that was a survey, which I just put into the chat, to gather some feedback from our parents in our district community. So right now, it's currently being based on the feedback we received from building leaders, from President's Council. We've organized this survey that you'll see in the chat, that we're hoping to send out district-wide to get some perspectives on, currently how are we doing, in making sure that our families are involved, getting an idea of, are they being invited to workshops? Are they, are they comfortable engaging with the school? Are they being offered opportunities either virtually or in person to attend, specific sessions? So we have a good 10 or 11 questions. I think it was 11 questions by the end of it, to gather some feedback from our families. And the hope of getting that feedback from them will be that we get to present that to the district leadership team, and to make some really good decisions between now and the end of the year, around making those improvements moving forward. Oftentimes, while we certainly love our parent chats and we get a lot of information from them, they're not necessarily on the large school body wise, right? So we wind up getting information from 8 to 10 parents. This is another way of communicating where we can get some more of that information. And I'm hoping that it's back from translation within the next 2 weeks, so that we can spread it widely to all of our schools, and then put a deadline on it for a couple of weeks later, so that we can have that information by the next DLT, and we get a snapshot of what our families are thinking at this point of the school year, which can then support our decision making moving forward, between now and the end. Anyone have any questions or comments about that, or about any of the ideas for our next meeting and data review?
Okay, so our next meeting will be a data review, and then Gus, I'm hoping we will have a little bit of feedback by then, so we can go over that with the DLT. But I'm going to turn the meeting over to you now.
Yeah, I'm not going to go over the DCP, which you all have, ladies and gentlemen, but I'm going to talk a little bit about the process, and it's a good segue to our next DLT meeting. And the first thing I want to say is I want to commend District 25 for submitting their DCEP ahead of schedule. So I'm always very proud of this district. And the high school superintendent's office also submitted ahead of time. And we are 100% complete in Queens North, which is not the case citywide. Now, right now that I'm speaking to you, there is a meeting taking place at Central, which is going to be recorded, so I'm going to be able to listen to it, where they're norming the review process, and they're discussing our office's role in the DCEP review process. Now, the timeline is that between January 9th and the 19th, my central team and ourselves are going to review every district's DCEP as a team. It's my understanding, based on the last meeting that I attended, that there will be 2 directors of federal and state education policy, meaning two individuals like myself, reviewing each DCEP. That's to get a perspective from our team outside of the district. So there'll be a district person, and then there'll be an out-of-district person that will provide feedback on the document. Then it goes to central, and I'm not sure, I wasn't told, but it may be part of the discussion that's taking place at the meeting right now, that leadership is going to provide feedback as well. Then on the 20th, we are going to be sharing that information with the superintendents and the superintendent's team. So by the February DLT, you should have that feedback in hand and be able to discuss it at the next DLT meeting. That's my expectation, and that's the process as I understand it at this point. I also know that, and this has happened on Friday, that iPlan is now functional again in terms of DCEP. So part of the process that's taking place is we are going to be taking your document, your draft, and putting it into iPlan. And that also will expedite the sharing process. Then, so as in the past of a couple of years ago, when the document is finalized, it will be publicly available on iPlan, not just as a Word document, but as a living document, the way the CEPs are for the schools. That's my understanding of the process at this point. And the superintendents will do their revisions by February 10th. And by February 17th, there'll be a DocuSign process for the DCEP. And right now they're projecting the public posting of DCEPs on a rolling basis starting the end of February. And when you engage in your progress monitoring, that process will also take place. I'm at a meeting. Can you take it outside, folks, if you're talking? That's the downside of being in an office with other people. Okay, so folks, that is the process as I understand it. I will be engaged in the feedback with one of my colleagues. You'll get that feedback. Central will then get that feedback, meaning leadership, and then we'll share it with you. The process is new this year, so I'm sure they will make adjustments as time goes by. I have already shared a checklist with the district office, and that checklist can be shared with anyone and everyone. Right now, that was the checklist, and I just got it, I think, last week. That checklist is what I was told is going to be part of the review process. So you already have a little bit of an insight into the review process, and I will keep the superintendent's team and the DLT members informed as to the evolution of all of this.
Okay, great. Thanks, Gus. Any questions for Gus? Okay, so now I'm going to turn it over to Bill. And one of the things that I did over the weekend, and thank you, Bill, for sending us the high school draft. If maybe you can just go over, we don't have to go over the entire document, but some of the key focus areas of high schools.
Sure. Let me just try to share here. Yeah.
And while Bill is getting his PowerPoint up, let me also commend all of Queens North and District 25 for the excellent communication between the high school superintendency and the community school district. It really has been an ongoing process. I've been involved with it, so I know how well and robust it's been.
Does everyone see the slide deck?
Not yet.
No, yet now.
You see it? All right.
Mhm.
So let me just scroll down to this. So as everyone's aware, Superintendent 2, we have our advisory. So these are our advisory dates. We also have upcoming town halls. It's going to be March 2nd, June 1st. We have the QR code. Makes it easy for people to log in. We also have our family forums. These are our dates for our family forums. In acts of collaboration, we were also positioning our students to be creative and to come up with a new logo for Queens North High Schools. So as soon as we have the new logo, that will be plastered on everything that we have. Currently, we do have a student that's probably in the lead, so that will be coming out soon. I do want to give a little bit of highlights for some of our schools. We're going to start with John Bound High School. So the JROTC performed a color guard and flag ceremony for the Jamaica Rotary Club. Over 180 local businesses and leaders were there in attendance. It was the 17th annual military ball that was held on January 21st. There was a drill team that was held a fundraiser to pay for the team's trip to the National Air Force drill competition in March. And in coordination with the law club, they conducted a canned food drive, which they collected 500 cans and donated them to Common Point, Queens. They also conducted a seminar or a semester of honor flight competition, which each class competes against each other to build unit camaraderie for the title of Best Flight. The results will be announced on the January 21st. And the Agri-Science Department, in collaboration with the PTA and Title I, held a wreath-making workshop for families. A STEM freshman was accepted to the membership program. The junior was accepted into the prestigious Columbia University College Edge program. This particular program accepts exceptional students to take college courses at Columbia while they're still in high school. So that's it's a unique opportunity for that student. Over 20 students have joined the mock trial team this year. They've begun their court proceedings and are currently preparing for the competition. They're competing against schools across the city. The Visual Arts Institute is hosting an annual paint night. This will take place later this month. Miss Kawas and Mr. Henderson took a trip, a group of 9th and 10th graders, to the studio art and drawing classes to see Jean-Michel Basquiat King Pleasure exhibit in Manhattan. And they also held their winter concert. All right, there's a little bit of old news here. It's mixed in with the new news. I do want to show the pictures, right? So these are two of our students for the JROTC. You also see at the bottom, those are pictures of the students when they had gathered and collected all of the different sundry food options for students. And on the right-hand side, you can see the concerts. We're going to move on now to RFK. Principal Barbetta wants everyone to know that students are partaking in the Wendy Wasserman Project. Basically, this is a project that started in 1998. Wendy Wasserman and TDF, that's the Theater Development Fund, wanted to see if theater was relevant to young people. So they took essentially 8 students to see 6 shows over a season. And then afterward, they had conversations with them and they had pizza. So today that experiment has blossomed into 24 mentorships. Top theater professionals share their time and expertise with the students throughout the 5 boroughs. And currently, you can see the numbers: 192 students, 24 schools, 24 teachers, 28 mentors, 144 shows. This is something that RFK is very proud of. And I could show a YouTube video on this, but I'm not going to do that just because of the time crunch that we have. And I know that we want to move into the DCEP. So I'm going to move on to the next slide. Queens North DEC review process. The first thing I want to say, this is definitely a collaborative process. And for Superintendent's 2 team, one of the things that we did this year, which is different than in previous years, is we held a World Cafe style where we presented the DCEP, and this was in stakeholders that included students, parents, teachers, assistant principals, and principals of our schools. And what we were trying to do is to really kind of lift what were some of the questions and concerns that people had about the particular process for the DCEP, and to give us insight on how we could make it a stronger, more cohesive document. So with that being said, I'm going to move on to just to show you some of the samples of some of the feedback that was provided based on different priorities. And I'm going to scroll down to the next piece of priority. And as Gus was saying earlier, our DCEP was input early, and that really is, I have to lean into the team because everyone on our team really has had a hand in developing the CEP. It is certainly a work of multiple voices. So when we look at the Chancellor's priorities, right, everything is coming back to the family and community engagement. And I'm going to kind of walk us through some of our priorities. So priority 1 is to accelerate the core literacy instruction across all content areas and grades through the implementation of standard aligned explicit instruction to ensure an increase in content area Regent scores for students with disabilities to 3% as measured by all New York State Regents data. Priority 2, and again, this is about keeping our students physically and emotionally safe. So by June 2023, we want to increase the student perception survey for question number 3 by 1% compared to last year's results. And by June 2023, decrease the suspension by 2% compared to last year. And what we would be using to measure that would be Power BI. Priority 3, June 2023, we'll develop systems and structures for programming 11th and 12th grade Ls and SWD students to ensure an increase in their enrollment and their earning of credits in both College Now and advanced placement courses. And again, we're looking for a 3% increase. Priority 4, building the capacity of high school student service teams and offering college and career readiness opportunities to increase the number of female students earning endorsed diplomas in CTE, Civic Seal, and New York State Seal of Biliteracy by 3%. And lastly, by June 2023, we'll strengthen attendance protocols across schools through leveraging student support services, attendance managers to ensure a decrease in chronic absenteeism among all students by 2%. And then what I want to do now is, and again, this is not going over the entire DCEP, just kind of highlighting some of our targeted action steps. So for priority 1, our action steps including targeting the schools. We've tiered our schools as a team, and we're also we're norming our understanding of what high quality instruction looks like as a team. We're delving into the screener data to help and using that as a reference point, especially challenges with the unfinished learning and courses in progress. And we're facilitating AP and teacher data professional learning series. So multiple people on our team are doing that, and they're having data conversations, not just with APs, but also with teachers. We're providing ongoing learning opportunities for teachers and stakeholders, including best practices around literacy expectations, and that's part of the Chancellor's goals. And we're also providing support for AP and L liaison professional development, again, centering on how to improve pedagogical practices specific to Ls and specific to special ed Ls. Implementation of the MOY, that's the map growth series, and Regents data. Those are pieces that we're also looking at. And school leaders are continuing to participate in their own PLCs. And this is something that we've done in the past, but we're really kind of leaning into that more deeply this year. And I think the principals are really finding this very meaningful because they're working with their colleagues, participating in leadership development, and observing classes as a team. Priority number 2, our action steps include the following. So we're going to investigate, acknowledge, and become informed on different suspension data. That's different levels of the suspension data. We're engaging in positive conversations about the benefits of regular attendance. We're unpacking the supportive environment framework and considering how those various components of the document will support the team in developing the DCP specifically for supportive environment. We're also conducting walkthroughs and providing feedback in real time. And we're also being strategic with providing student voice. So we're trying to include students in that. So, whether it's fielding a survey to students, or whether it's, finding out how do they feel about their particular buildings and what's going on, and then what can they do to make their building even better. We're also using red table talks to get more feedback from students. And at our last principal meeting, students were able to conduct their own red table talk. And some of the students engaged in this so that they have more ownership of their education, and they're more aligned to their school goals. I'm going to move on to the next priority. So for priority 3, all right, this is around the 11th and 12th grade Ls and SWD to increase their enrollment. So we're providing ways to support AP plus L liaison professional learning opportunities. And this is centering around the student guidebook and MTSS structures. We're integrating 4 to 6 credit New York State Algebra 1 Regents type constructive response questions in math. They're spiraling individual instruction of unlearned algebra content, identifying periodic mock assessments for students as well as Ls. We're developing, communicating and implementing district vision, mission, and theory of action in collaboration with nominated school-based ICT teachers. So basically what this is about is getting teachers to work collaboratively with one another to articulate those goals and to find 3 improvement strategies. Those improvement strategies include equitable roles and responsibilities, strategic look at data, differentiation and scaffolding, and the implementation of the ICT models. That includes station work, alternative teaching, parallel teaching, to be respective and responsive to our student needs. The last few things just to round this piece out, support ICT leads in developing and acting school-based improvement plans, including facilitation of school-wide learning, PL ICT professional learning, parts 1 and 2 of the 3-part series, and engaging the ICT leads in those learning walks. And then we're also implementing Khan Academy for Tier 3 schools, and creating a launch for a learner's experience hub. This is something that we're working collaboratively with Queens College to try to find a variety of different online courses for our students to partake, so that they could either have college credits or certification courses. And we're also going to try to lean into the world of CTE in that same venue. For priority 4, priority 4 is about the capacity of the high school based student service teams and offering college and career readiness. So again, part of what we're trying to do here, we're going to have MSK, which is My Sister's Keeper. We're working collaboratively with the Division of Ls to provide information sessions for all high schools and to support them with the application process. We're providing ongoing support to participating schools for assembling a school-based committee and designating a coordinator, trying to get more recruitment for the Seal of Biliteracy, for CTE, so that students have more opportunities and different CTE courses for them to either take or, again, to take get a certification in. Assisting schools with the CTE upgrades and the modernization grants. So many of our schools have an element of CTE in their building, whether it's a one course or multiple courses. So part of what we've tried to do, there was a grant through the DOE that many of our principals were able to complete. So they will have additional funding to run or to supplement their already robust CTE programs. And then lastly, priority 5, strengthening our attendance, right? We know that if the students are not in attendance, they're not going to perform well on the Regents exams. So it's really critical that we get to the kids and we find out who they are, who the kids are not attending, why they're not attending, and find strategies for them. So as a district, we're engaging in analysis of the student survey data, trying to kind of find out why students are not attending, and then talking to principals and APs about strategies to increase and to decrease the chronic absenteeism. Superintendent will organize and facilitate opportunities for parents, students, and elected officials to receive community feedback on some of these strategies. District will organize a parent-based survey to gather more information. They're going to share the information with the Parents' Council to gather feedback before sharing it to the district. And then we're going to engage the parents in our chats and specific emphasis on, again, improving that parent involvement. Because we know that even at the high school level, especially at the high school level, when parents are involved, their attendance improves and their grades improve. So there's more engagement. And lastly, we're developing and administering that survey to gather more information and making that into the 23-24 school year. That concludes the report. I do know that I gave Gus, and I believe everyone on the DLT should have a copy of the actual DCEP. So if anyone wants to read that or review that.
Yeah, Bill, they have it. I sent it
right,
over.
great.
Yeah, I sent it with the email, and it's
Great.
in the folder, the DLT folder as well.
Excellent. Thank you.
Anyone have any questions for Bill, just in terms of high school goals?
Rachel?
Yep.
It's not necessarily in reference to the goals. Just have a quick question about the town hall that you mentioned. There's one in March.
Yeah.
Is that the all districts in Queens North?
Say that again?
Is that all districts in Queens North? Yeah.
Oh no. Yeah. For the high school, it would be all of them, because when we hold meetings, it's for all the districts, the 4 districts that we're responsible for.
So that would include District 26.
Yes.
Okay. And do you know if there's any plans to address the loaded gun issue at the high school in District 26?
Which issue?
The loaded gun at Cardoza.
I can't say. I'm sure that the superintendent would be able to address that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
All right. Any other questions for Bill? You know, there's just a few comments that I wanted to make. I saw that you were, and then Shirley, I'll let, I saw that you guys are doing the Seal of Biliteracy and the Civic Seal. And an important thing to know is that, you know, our work with Civics for All, many of our middle schools are having students today we're doing Soapbox, where they're in the city doing their presentations, but their projects that will continue give them half of that seal. So many of our students will be entering, because our entire district, except for one school, is participating in Civics for All. So many of our students will be entering into high school with half of that credit that you would need to get the civic seal. So that's an important piece. And then the second thing that, I will say that I'm going to continue to work with Superintendent Tu on is chronic absenteeism. I think we need to do a better job of sending students to high school knowing the importance of showing up, because if you look across the board at citywide high school attendance rates, not just Queens North, they are lower than our elementaries and middle school. So I think that's something that we can continue to do together to build capacity to let students know of the importance of showing up, and what that means in terms of their growth and their education. So, all right, Shirley.
I just wanted to address Rachel's question. I just wanted to let her know that Friday was District 26 DLT meeting, and it was addressed and brought up there. And we actually had the principal of Cardozo High School present about Cardozo, but also address the issue about the firearm that was found on the student and so to summarize it, it wasn't for use for the school. And I'll leave it to that. I'll let them, if you ask that question, I'll leave it to that meeting. If you want to ask more details, you can ask me on the side if you like to.
Okay, thank you, Shirley.
Okay, any other questions for Bill? Okay, then I'm going to turn it over to Shirley for Citywide High School Subcommittee report. Wait, Joe, are you talking? Oh yeah, you're muted. Can you unmute?
I'm sorry, I was talking. I had a phone call, so.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Okay, so Shirley.
Multitasking.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to give the Citywide High School Subcommittee report. The meeting was on December 20th. The hidden gem so happened to be for the month was John Brown High School. They gave a presentation about their school, what they offer, what they're doing. So everyone, the details are in the notes. The main presentation was the vision of school facilities, school construction authority, and capital improvements. The presentation was done by Armaris Rodriguez, who was part of the Division of School Facilities. And it gave an overview of the role of each of these, the overrule of the DDFS, what they are doing, how they connect with the schools, with the capital planning, with the school construction authority, how they all work together to make improvements of the schools or renovations, etc., and how to get on that. So the links and the presentations, again, is in those notes that was sent. And that is for the Citywide High School Subcommittee meeting. Do you want me to give Queens High School President's Council update?
Yeah.
All right. So as in regards to Queens High School President's Council, we passed 3 resolutions at a hybrid meeting. We had a hybrid meeting at the Queens UFT headquarters. It was nice. We had like over 20 people in attendance and 60 virtual. So we like to do more of that hybrid meeting so we can meet together and discuss and see how tangible we are, real persons instead of the little squares. We passed, the first resolution we passed was supporting the Borough High School Partnership. It was a pilot, was supposed to start in Queens under the first Deputy Chancellor Donald Connors, but he retired. It was supposed to start last school year. So we're asking for them to start the pilot, where this is a space where all the high school stakeholders can meet, like in a bi-monthly or quarterly fashion, and meaning that all the stakeholders, meaning all high school superintendents. We've been working really as well as a borough, instead of Queens North, Queens South, New Visions, CUNY, The goal is to function as a borough regarding high schools and being on the same page. Because as for President's Council, we don't have, our membership is not broken up into under how the high school superintendents. In Queens, we have 7 high school superintendents. We all high schools in the borough are our members. So we are really strengthening one-ship as a Queens borough versus individual sectors. The second, and also opposing a citywide leadership team. That was the first resolution. The second, the next 2 resolutions was the co-locations that are happening. They were supposed to be up for the PEP on the 5th of this month, but it was changed to January 24th. It's going to be at Long Island City College to hear the proposal of co-location of Success Academy Elementary School and Springfield Gardens High School campus, which has 4 high schools already, and then the Catherine Count Basie Middle School campus. It has 2 middle schools who just received magnet grants and a District 75 middle school there. And the communities are strongly opposed. And so with partnership with the UFT, I think we mentioned it last time, we are asking for in the entire borough, all the schools, early childhood to 12th grade, to SOTs to do resolutions. And we got a few resolutions. We've got quite a number of few resolutions from schools across the borough. I'm saying about over 200 resolutions already in solidarity with these communities. And they're also asking for DLTs to pass resolution, and that 2 DLTs already passed resolutions in supporting the opposition of the Success Academy co-location. We are going to start tomorrow our PDs that we collaborate with Queens South High Schools and District 28. Tomorrow is going to be a mid-year checkup to see how parent leaders are doing. And then we'll continue with our PDs with elections, nominations, and June transfer of records. And the final piece is January 18th, which I'm going to share the flyers. We're having our part 2 of Elevating the High School Voice series, and part 2 is Reimagining Queens High Schools. That's on Wednesday, January 18th. All 7 superintendents should be panelists. We all came with that date along with Queens High School president for January 18th, and I will share the flyers so you can share it with the team. And that's it for our report. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions for Shirley? Okay. Any other constituencies have announcements? Joe, yes. Did you raise your hand? Okay.
I did, yes. So I just hot off the press, the chancellor kicked off the community education elections and the citywide education councils, but also announced that whoever for the first time, families that have a child in a District 75 school can vote for representation on each local community education council. So I'm assuming now we're going to have a seat for a D75 rep on the council as well. So I'll get more information on that, but that was the latest announcement issued this morning.
Great. Thank you. Okay. Any other new business? All right. So thank you, everyone. So our next meeting is February 13th. 9:00 Zoom, and we will have all of the documentation that we talked about. Hopefully we'll be able to have all of the mid-year benchmarks in place, and we will review the feedback from the DCEP for final approval. Okay, have a great month, everyone. Francis and Rachel, I'll see you guys tonight, and everyone else. Enjoy the rest of your day. We have consensus to adjourn.
Consensus.
Anybody want to stay on? Yes. All right.
Have a good
Thanks,
day, everyone.
Bye
Be
bye.
well,
Everybody.
everybody.
Thank
Great
you.
day, everyone.
Take care of each other.
Bye-bye.